Support for Radio Friends comes from OsteoStrong. Improvements in bone density, strength, and power can be achieved by weekly 5-minute no-sweat sessions on their 4-spectrum machines. These isometric robotic machines safely emulate high-impact loading on different parts of the skeletal system, which stimulates activity in bone-building cells. Balance and agility can be improved by 2-minute sessions on vibration plates. Every session is supervised by a trained coach. Learn more on Facebook or call to set up a complimentary wellness assessment and session. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Thursday, August the 17th. If you like native plants, you want to stick around for the next 8 minutes or so because that's what we're talking about. Our native plant expert is with us, Nadia Navarette-Tindall. Good to have you here,
Yeah,
Nadia.
Thank you, Paul.
And you are with Lincoln University.
Yes.
And, of course, you have your own Facebook page where you can find out anything you want to know about native plants.
Yeah.
Today, you wanted to deal with, 5 or 6 different plants in the area?
Well, I came with the idea to discuss about how native plants are so resilient to weather, even with this extreme weather we just had.
Well, we went earlier in July, we were 100 degrees plus. We had windy conditions. It was so dry. And then all at once we got rain.
Yes.
But the native plants survived, didn't they?
Yeah, and what I brought you a few pictures today. So just to, this picture were taken within a week. Even 3 of them are from yesterday, from our yard.
So what you brought today, pictures of plants that went through that really hot, dry weather, and then they revived themselves with the rain. They look, when it gets hot and dry like that, it looks like they're dying. But
this one, for there's so many like that. They would just look fine, like this one. We're looking at a cup plant.
A
like
what?
CUP, cup, like cup plant.
A cup plant?
And
okay, it looks like a yellow daisy.
It is related to the sunflower family.
Okay.
Or is in the sunflower family. And the leaves were just fine during this hot, extreme weather. And even before the rain, they started blooming. And of course, now they're thriving after the rain. Mm-hmm. And the leaves are edible in the spring. So that's another story.
Oh, the leaves are edible?
In the spring.
In the spring, okay.
Yes.
So this is called the cup plant. And it's a family of the sunflower.
Yeah, it is.
To me, it looks like a daisy, or it looks like a little baby sunflower.
That's right. They are related.
And then the next one that you have is the black eye...
Brown eye Susan.
Brown eye. What's the difference between black eye and brown eye, Susan?
Brown eye grow in the shade, and black eye preferred sun. And the flowers are much smaller. And they bloom this late in the year. Okay. Actually, every flower that we see, even fruits are producing earlier this year because of weather. But this plant is good in really shady areas. And I took this photo yesterday in our backyard.
Okay, so those go in weedy, shaded areas, and they can tolerate the drought and the heat very well.
You can see I never water them. And the next one is also in the sunflower family. Oh, actually, it's not. This one is a passion flower.
It's a vine.
Yes, it's a vine. And what they have in common, all these plants, is that people might call them aggressive, some might call them weedy because they reseed themselves, but that is one characteristic that makes them so resilient. So if you just have to find your own spot, or the right spot for them.
So it's called a passion vine?
Yeah, the passion vine sprouts on its own, so you have to put it in a place where not in a formal garden. But they're so gorgeous, and they produce fruits that are edible.
And within 1 year, will they spread?
Yes, and I brought you some of the cuttings today because they have their root is so deep. But I brought you some with a piece of root, and they will sprout easily.
Okay,
if you put them in a pot.
And they make those beautiful purple flower. It's called the
Yeah.
passion flower.
And yes.
And can you grow them on? They'll grow on trellises. They'll climb anything that you put out for them to climb. So they could be called very invasive plants, but they're
No, I wouldn't call them invasive. I hate to call them invasive because they're native plants. They're
Okay.
always good for something.
okay. So because they're native, you're not calling them invasive. Is that right?
Yes.
But they are aggressive.
Aggressive.
Okay,
And
so since they're native, we don't call them invasive. We call them aggressive plants.
yes, but also since you know in advance, you know where to put them, and we have to also think that these plants, they're beautiful with the flowers. The fruits are edible, the leaves are edible, and it's a fritillary
Are they
butterfly.
resilient to insects?
They except for the Japanese beetles.
Japanese beetle. Oh.
They like this, but they recover. They ate some, but they recover.
Yeah.
So
The Japanese beetles aren't quite as bad this year as they were in years
Yeah.
past. And I think part of it is because for the past 4 or 5 years, I go out there with buckets and I just shake the
Yeah.
Japanese beetles into the buckets and drown them.
yeah, they were very little, but they're less terrible this year. But all these plants, except for passion flower, they're not eaten by Japanese beetles. So that's another
Okay.
advantage. So we have the next one, and that is
Poke.
yes, poke. Or they call it poke salad because you can eat the leaves.
Yeah.
But
When
you
I-
need to know how to prepare them before you eat them.
When I grew up, we used to cook the poke leaves like spinach. My dad would pick them, or my mom would pick them, and then you cook them like spinach. And we had a little bit of olive oil on it, and they tasted great.
Yeah, you just have to be careful that they have to be the very, very, very early leaves.
Now, what if they're not the very early leaves?
Later, they might cause some problems with digestion. They won't kill you. They're not really poisonous.
Okay.
The
And what
leaves.
about the berries of the poke?
The berries, they are considered toxic, but the birds love them. And it's why I brought it, because you can see that these fruits have been eaten by
The
birds I love.
Yeah. They make those kind of real dark purple berries, almost blackberries. And Nadia, we're almost out of time, but you
So-
wanted to mention the wild plums also.
Yes, the wild plums. I brought this picture was taken at Lincoln University, and I brought some that we have been harvesting. I mentioned I don't know if I mentioned it, but they are ripening earlier this year.
Yeah.
Because the weather,
Yeah.
we assume, but they're so abundant, and we need volunteers. So if anybody's interested in coming to pick,
Okay, you can go to Lincoln
Wild plum?
University. You're looking for people to pick these wild plums. Can they
Yes.
keep the wild plums then?
yes, they
Yeah.
can keep them.
Okay, go to Lincoln University and pick the wild plums, and you can make jam out of it. Nadia, thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah, thank you,
If people
Paul.
want more information, where do they go? Real
Well,
quick.
they have to go to Native Plants and More, my Facebook page.
Okay, native plants and more. Nadia Navarette-Tindall, thank you so much for coming
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
by. Bye-bye.